On today's program, Dr. Jürgen Bühler reflects on the Holocaust from a Nazi concentration camp. In honor of Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, we visit Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, and we visit the home for Holocaust survivors in Haifa.
In a time where anti-Semitism is on the rise again, it is important, now more than ever, to remember those who perished in the Holocaust, so that history does not repeat itself.
While Sachsenhausen was a Class 1 concentration camp, that means it was a model camp for other SS soldiers to be trained how to run a concentration camp. It was considered one of the best camps to be in Germany. It still was a killing machine. We are here at the execution trench, and here at this place, countless people lost their lives. Here at this camp, more than 20,000 people have been brutally murdered, not by malnutrition, by just brutally killing them. So this was hell on earth. Here at Sachsenhausen campground, around 70 barracks have been built in order to hold the prisoners. Each of the barracks was designed to hold around 100 prisoners. But the reality was, and this is what we gather from SS reports, that in each of those barracks could hold up to 400 people, so that the entire concentration camp at sometimes could host more than 30,000 prisoners. The life on this concentration camps was in particular difficult. Those green areas were not recreation areas, but these were punishment areas, where people in their barracks sometimes were called out for special punishment. And also here at the camp, the work was incredibly harsh. It was specifically designed to kill people.
Roughly 200,000 people passed through Sachsenhausen. While some were transferred to other concentration camps, it is estimated that 30,000 to 50,000 people died here.
When prisoners arrived here, the first thing what they saw was this sign which says Arbeit macht frei. It means labor redeems or liberates you. The story is that one of the prisoners arrived here and he loud read this sign, Arbeit macht frei, and one of the prisoners behind him, he told him, right, it sets you free at crematory number 3. As we are standing here at Sachsenhausen concentration camp, it teaches us a lesson that we need to make sure that history will not repeat itself. That we become people that, as we see the early signs of anti-Semitism in our times, that we stand up and speak on behalf of the Jewish people, but on behalf of all those who are oppressed today. It means also that we are standing with those who survived those concentration camps, the Holocaust survivors that are still alive today. It carries a lesson for each one of us, that we stand up for righteousness, for justice, and on behalf of the Jewish people. We are here at Sachsenhausen concentration camps, one of the first camps in Germany that was built by Adolf Hitler. The first people that ended up in camps like this were people who politically opposed Adolf Hitler, or pastors who from their pulpits preached against the new Nazi regime that was emerging in Germany. During the time of Nazi Germany, there were different types of Christians here in the land. There were those who were the bystanders, the silent majority, those in a way who empowered Adolf Hitler to do what he was doing because they never spoke up. Another group, they very deliberately aligned themselves with Adolf Hitler. They were called the German Christians. They endorsed Nazi ideology, but then there were also those who belonged to what was called the confessing church, Christians who took a bold stand here in this land and who stood up for their biblical principles in a time of darkness. One of those leaders was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He was known as one of the founders of the Confessing Church, a group of believers that saw themselves as Christians first and then only as Germans. They always insisted that our Christian identity in Christ Jesus need to override our national identity. And because of this approach, many of them were persecuted and many of them ended up in concentration camps like this. Another prominent figure that was standing up against Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime is Pastor Martin Niemöller. Martin Niemöller has a very unique story that in the beginning of Adolf Hitler's rise to power, he actually aligned himself with Adolf Hitler and he felt he was the right man to lead Germany. But very quickly he found out that Hitler would be a man who was leading Germany into destruction, and he started to use his pulpit to speak up against the evil regime of Adolf Hitler. Martin Niemöller was a very well-known figure in Germany. He was a known submarine commander in World War I. He was a national hero for many people. That means he was a very prominent person. Many people looked up to him. So when the SS came and picked him up, Adolf Hitler made sure that this man came into a special confinement. And this is exactly where we are standing here in Sachsenhausen. This block was a solitary confinement area for special prisoners. Pastor Niemöller was called the prisoner of Adolf Hitler. So he was here in a solitary cell, and the people who were in the other side of the camp, where thousands and thousands of other prisoners were, they were never able to see and even know that Martin Niemöller was here in prison camp. We have seen today that there have been people who were standing up against the regime of Adolf Hitler, but the main challenge in Germany were those people, the majority of the people who remained silent. Martin Niemöller made a famous statement at the end of the war. He says, "In the beginning they came for the communists, but I remained silent because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the unionists, and again I remained silent because I was not a unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I remained silent again because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and nobody was left to stand up for me." The book of Proverbs says in chapter 31, verse 8, to speak up for those who have no voice and for those who are destitute. And here at Sachsenhausen, I want to challenge you to be a person who God can count on. Be a person who speaks up when you see unrighteousness, and be a person who stands for the Jewish people and the state of Israel in our times.
Yad Vashem in Hebrew means a monument and a name. It is Israel's official memorial to the victims of the Holocaust. It is dedicated to preserving the memory of the dead, honoring Jews who fought against their Nazi oppressors, and Gentiles who selflessly aided Jews in need, and researching the phenomenon of the Holocaust in particular and genocide in general, with the aim of avoiding such events in the future. Christian Friends of Yad Vashem was founded in October 2006 in partnership with the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem in order to educate Christians about the universal lessons of the Holocaust. We mobilize Christians from various countries to become active in promoting Holocaust awareness and in fighting modern-day anti-Semitism. Among our many activities, we organize an annual Christian leadership seminar at Yad Vashem for pastors and other Christian leaders to learn about the Holocaust, meet survivors of the Shoah, and to become ambassadors of our mission.
סוניה קאן, בת 16, פולין. Motli Pachernik, 1 year old, Poland. Valeria Leicht, 12 years old, Czechoslovakia.
Yad Vashem is so much more than a Holocaust museum. Situated on 45 acres on the Mount of Remembrance in Jerusalem, it is the world center for documentation, research, education, and commemoration of the Holocaust. The Holocaust is a defining moment of human history, in which 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children, were murdered by Nazi Germany and its collaborators.
I'm walking in the Valley of the Jewish Communities. Each stone is a symbolic tombstone of a Jewish community that perished during the Holocaust in Europe.
The Holocaust was the attempt by Nazi Germany and the German people and all their collaborators and those who cooperated with them to eliminate the Jews off the face of the earth.
Okay, so my name is Eliezer Ayalon. I was born in Poland in 1928 in the city Radom.
That's the Holocaust, where my parents and my family, 100 people, were killed in cold blood.
I had 2 brothers and a sister. I was the youngest in the family, the only one that survived the Holocaust.
Whether Christians in Germany or in the occupied countries realized it or not, they were in fact facing a challenge to their faith.
Yad Vashem is entrusted with the mission of safeguarding the memory of the Holocaust and imparting its meaning for future generations. The very name Yad Vashem, a memorial and a name, comes from the Bible, where the prophet Isaiah proclaims God's promise, "To them I will give within my temple and its walls a memorial and a name, better than sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that will not be cut off."
From the Mount of Remembrance, from Yad Vashem, where we look to our history that represent not just the history of the last century, but at least a history of 2 millennium, it's a mission for the Jewish people and the Christian to try and build together something that will bring us together to our roots, which are the same.
Yad Vashem was created in 1953 by an act of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, in order for it to become the national memorial to the Holocaust for Israel and the Jewish people.
For me, Yad Vashem is the place where I am the closest with my family. And all my family, about 100 people, are inscribed in the books of Yad Vashem.
Overall Christian silence during the Holocaust was deafening. Attitudes toward the Jews during the Shoah, or Holocaust, ranged from indifference to hostility to outright collaboration with the Nazis. Sadly, the majority watched as their Jewish neighbors were rounded up, taken away, never to return. While only a brave few took risks to help, many benefited from the Jewish homes, businesses, and belongings they were forced to leave behind. The roots of anti-Semitism run deep in the soil and soul of Europe. A very specific responsibility for the events of the Holocaust is shared by Christians. The Holocaust could not have taken place unless the groundwork for anti-Jewish attitude had already been laid.
The church was compromised to quite a degree. People were not well educated. They didn't know really that this was false teaching. Even today, very often I meet people who do not understand what they encounter from some of the theologians of the 1930s, 1940s, that this was false teaching, and they think this is a teaching of the church. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And wherever Jewish people are at stake, it is also that the good Christians are at stake. This always goes together in history. It was in Nazi Germany as much as it is today.
And we stand beside a people who have suffered too long in the nations, and particularly during the awful years of the Holocaust. The wickedness and the abyss of evil of the Holocaust is well known to many of us and needs no explanation, because we can never really plumb the depths of such wickedness and evil. But we can ensure for successive generations that this never happens again.
In spite of the silence of millions and millions of people worldwide during the Holocaust and the resultant Shoah, or destruction, of 1/3 of all Jews in the Nazi death camps, killing sites, and ghettos, there were a few courageous souls who risked their lives to rescue, protect, and save Jewish people during one of the darkest hours of human history.
I helped save 160 Jewish people by hiding them with righteous Gentiles, with righteous non-Jews.
And it was this challenge that was asking them to act on behalf of their Jewish neighbors, to stand in the gap between death and the Jews. And some of them felt the call in their heart and they responded, and others didn't.
And it was very, very dangerous, not only for me, for the person who was hiding, and for the person who was a Jew who was hiding there. To keep us alive, somebody had to die or somebody had to suffer.
Thousands of trees have been planted at the Yad Vashem campus in honor of the righteous among the nations. One of those trees is for Corrie ten Boom. The ten Boom family was an ordinary Christian family living in Haarlem in Holland. They managed to save many Jews by giving them a hiding place in their own home while risking their lives.
And when Caspar ten Boom was left away, he said to the Nazi officer, "There comes a time in a man's life when he has to decide whether he will obey God's law or man's."
The story is so very, very important for everyone living in this world.
We must remember that the smoke from the crematoriums of the death camps in Auschwitz, Birkenau, Treblinka, Sobibor will evaporate without a trace if we allow ourselves to forget. And if, God forbid, the smoke of those chimneys are forgotten, there will be no meaning left in our existence as a civilized society. And that is my duty and the duty of many others who are speaking.
The Christian Friends of Yad Vashem was officially established in October 2006 in cooperation with the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, to raise awareness about the Holocaust and its universal lessons today for Christian communities around the world. An annual Christian leadership seminar has been launched at Yad Vashem's International School for Holocaust Studies, ensuring that pastors and Christian leaders will be prepared to share this vital information.
We have to actually address the painful experiences of the past and why the church was absent or took such a silent stance towards the oppression of the Jewish people during that period.
Help Yad Vashem preserve the memory of the past and educate for the future. This is now your time to stand up and be counted to say, never again.
We invite you to join in our activities, whatever your denomination or church.
It is so very important that you get involved and that you feel what we all feel.
It is very important for Christian communities to join the circle of Friends of Yad Vashem.
Up next, we visit the Haifa home for Holocaust survivors. Approximately 1/3 of Israel's some 180,000 Holocaust survivors are impoverished, struggling with illness, or living alone. In 2009, ICEJ began a partnership with the local charity to provide a home especially for lonely survivors. It offers attractive assisted living facilities and a warm family environment. In January of 2018, participants of the ICEJ Canada 150 Ways to Bless Israel tour visited the home in Haifa and met some of the people involved and some Holocaust survivors. The participants were met by Judith Seitz, ICEJ Aid Deputy Director, who introduced the participants to the Haifa home. Shamin Sabag, director and founder of the home, welcomed the visitors and thanked ICEJ Canada for its continued support over the years. Donna Holbrook, national director of ICEJ Canada, as well as others on the ICEJ Canada team, were honored with an award from the survivors themselves, thanking ICEJ Canada for its financial participation in the Haifa home throughout the years.
I will thank to all of you to help us to make a very, very special life now here. We have really something together, and we have quiet life and very, very wonderful. Thank you.
First of all, I appreciate very, very much that you made the long journey to see us and to hear and to meet us. And I thank you for the generous contributions that you've given to us to make our last years very, very happy.
Tour participants also brought gifts for the survivors. By hearing about survivors in a more personal way, many Christians in Canada have been touched by this project. In turn, their love and support has deeply touched the staff and residents. ICEJ is conscious both of the privilege of supporting Holocaust survivors and that time is running out as survivors pass away at the rate of 13,000 each year. Please contact us for more information. We conclude our program today with some sights and sounds within Israel. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to visit our website at www.icejcanada.tv or call us at 1-866-324-9133. And for our Canadian residents, you can ask for your free Canada Israel pin. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Haifa Home for Holocaust Survivors, Women at Risk Red Carpet Project, Operation Life Shield, Bomb-Proof Shelters, Mentoring Program, Alias Support, Children's Projects, Israel in Crisis, Israel Aid, Magan David Adom Emergency Services, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Scholarship Program for Young Adult Leaders, ICEJ Canada Media, Gift Estate Security Funds. Celebrate Prepare the Way Feast of Tabernacles, ICEJ's 40th anniversary in Jerusalem this year. Join ICEJ Canada for the following options. Option 1. Celebrate Prepare the Way Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem, September 30th to October 9th. Opening night in Engedi, Garden Tomb, Communion. Join Canadians in the Jerusalem March. Hear world-renowned speakers. Special dedication of a bomb shelter in the Galilee. Or join us for Option 2, the 40th Anniversary Tour, October 6th to the 14th. Experience Caesarea, Mount Carmel, Galilee Boat Ride, Capernaum, the Golan Heights, Nazareth, the Dead Sea, Jerusalem, and so much more. You can choose to join us for the first week, September 30th to October 9th, for the Feast of Tabernacles celebration and activities in Jerusalem, or second week of touring, October 6th to the 14th, or best of all, both weeks. Contact us now for details while there is still space at info@icejcanada.org or call 1-866-324-9133. Join ICEJ Canada this year in Israel.